So you know what I do when that happens. Time to go live. It is 4:38, 40:35, 4:35 in the morning on July 27th. I don't know. Twitch doesn't catch the live stuff the way that some other mediums do. So I figured I'd just show you. And I still got mad bug bites. Central time. I'm in Illinois. Yeah, my knuckles are itching behind the fucking bug bites. It's awful. What? Do you want me to go on the news? What about the Weather Channel? Hey Google, what time is it?
It's 5:36 a.m.
5:36 a.m. Hey Google, what's today's date?
It's Saturday, July 27th, 2024.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Now you know. Now you know. July 27th, 2024. I should say it's 5. Probably New York time. I must have never changed it, but whatever. Didn't she? Hey Google, what time is it? Central time. Hey Google, what time is it Central time?
It's 4:37 a.m. in Central Time.
Oh, 4:37. Yeah, I think she must be still set for New York. Hope we didn't err then, I guess. Well, I mean, I have to win because it's the truth. I don't win. If you notice, I'm not winning. I did not win. I do not win. But I am telling the truth. When I got dead and I seriously want to die, then a lot of us want to die, but that's just where we are. That's just what we are as a people. We've made a bunch of homicidal or suicidal people. If you notice, a lot of older men and younger women kill themselves. Probably behind this very thing. Chances are good. And outside of that, we have a lot of other extremists doing a lot of nonsensical things. We have a system that is inevitably doomed to fail. Late stage capitalism. Or any stage capitalism for that matter, because competition could only do but so much when you have people who can't compete. And that's where we failed ourselves, because we don't realize that there are some people who just don't have the capacity to compete. And what do you do in a competitively driven society when you don't have the capacity to compete? You can't win because you can't compete. You don't have the skills, you don't have the abilities, or you don't have the means to achieve the skills or the abilities, to acquire the skills and abilities. And what do? You destroy the people who do have the skills and abilities. You don't have a choice. It's competitively driven. If you can't beat them, you have to get rid of them so that you don't have to beat them anymore. That just goes without saying. If you can't beat them, you have to destroy them. You don't have a choice. It's either that or you just die a slow and painful death. You don't get to succeed because you can't beat them. So what do? That's why capitalism doesn't work as well as it should or could. The only way capitalism would work is if everybody had a fighting chance or a fair chance at competing, but they don't. Money makes certain of that. Those people who are born with everything given to them have a much greater starting point than they've done this. So there's like this version of a race. I forgot what it was, but there was a bunch of people who were in a race, and they had them start at different positions, and they had them start with like different weights on them and shit like that, and those weights were supposed to indicate their economic conditions and their social conditions and their upbringing, etc., and their education, all of that. And then they started the race, and of course the person who started at the earliest with none of the burdens, none of the weights, none of the heaviness won the race. It just goes without saying. Like, they started with a bunch of advantages. It was supposed to be a metaphor for society, for American society specifically, or capitalism, and the structure of our system and how it's failing or how it's flawed. It's a perfect analogy. And I'm not the perfect example, but I'm a good example. If I had more money, like if my people had more money, and I had the education on paper, not the actual education. I have the education, but if I had the education on paper, I would win. Like, I could walk into pretty much any job. There's not anything out there that I can't do. There's nothing out there I can't do. But what I want to do requires fucking 10 years of education, and I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, and I definitely don't have the funds necessary to be able to acquire it. So it's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. I don't care. I'm gonna die in 40 years, probably. I made it through 40 already. It's another 40. What's another 40? I don't need it, and I don't want anything to do with y'all. And I'm gonna be violent if I do. So I can't be a part of your system in order to be able to make the money that I need to make, because I just don't got it in me. You destroyed that. You destroyed my will to want to be a part of your system. So I'm not going to do it. Because what I would have to do right now, in order to be able to get back into your workforce, is I'd have to start at like an entry-level position or something close to that, right? And I'm not willing to do that. I'm not going to do it. I told you, I wanted to stay out of prison. My goal, I told you I would shovel shit. And then I realized that I can't, because you guys are just awful. You're just not great people. You are too corrupt and manipulative. So I'm not dealing. So I'm not going to deal. Like, if it happens and it just happens, I'll let it happen. But I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to try to make it happen anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chill, vibe, try and relax. Hopefully he doesn't lose his mind over me doing this. If he does, it's probably going to turn bad. Not for him, but for somebody else, or for some of you, somehow. It's like, he's not wrong to hate why I'm not doing it. He should respect that, but he's not wrong to hate me for not holding my own, but he should hate y'all more for not creating a system that allows me to hold my own. So him taking his anger out on me is going to cause me to take my anger out on y'all, which is fine. It is what it is. But we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not super worried about it. I'm just letting you know so that you're prepared, you're forewarned. I told you, this is my manifesto. Every single one of us has left one. You made a system that breaks us, and, well, we break you back. It's to fix the system. Otherwise, you'd never listen. You wouldn't pay attention. You'd be like, I don't care. It doesn't fucking matter. It's irrelevant. Who's that person? And they don't matter. You don't care about me. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. It's true. You don't really care about me. You can't claim to care about me. This is what you make. You don't care about me, which is fine. You don't have to care about me. But I can make you care what I'm saying. I can make you care about my message. I can force you to care about my message. Guaranteed. Just like everyone who's come before me. You saw it. We're going to make America great again. Even though it was never great in the first place. I just saw a picture of a slave with America was never great etched in their back behind whip marks. It's true, though. If you go further back than the videos that I posted, those videos go all the way back to early 90s. What do you have before that? Disenfranchised women? Disenfranchised people of color? Right, you have World War II. What do you have before that? It only gets worse the further back you go. It only gets worse the further back you go. So that was all the way up until Obama became president. Right before Trump did. Right before Trump. So when Trump says make America great again, when was America great? Because I showed you all the way back to the 90s. So it wasn't great at any point during that period of time. And then if you go further back, it only gets worse. When was America great? The wholesale slaughter of an indigenous people, the enslavement of another people just behind the color of their skin, or not even just behind the color of their skin, because apparently we kept Irish folk as like indentured servants, etc., for a period of time. So it wasn't even just because of the color of their skin, but we kept slavery, and then finally, once slavery was no longer a thing, it was still disenfranchisement. So people of color and women had no voting rights, didn't have a say in their own lives. America was never great. You can never claim that America was great. It just wasn't. It just isn't. Yeah, I know I look crazy, but I don't really care, because you guys who know the message are going to listen to the message. You're not going to look at me and be like, oh my god, look, he looks a little gross because he just woke up and hasn't taken a shower in 6 days. I'm going to take a shower today. You're not gonna care that much about how I look. You're gonna care more about what I have to say. That just goes without saying. Yeah, that just goes without saying. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to post a TikTok as well. I'm not gonna post anything to Facebook. I don't really care, but I'll post a TikTok. All right. I woke up feeling crazy. It's 4:46 Central Time on, what is it, May 27th? June 27th? July 27th? July 27th. July 27th, 2024, and it's 4:46 Central Time. I woke up. I just tried to make another video, but it ended up cutting short because it was only a 15 seconds, so I made this one a minute. I just woke up with my energy in a frenzy, so I'm now live on Twitch. If you see there, it is 4:47. Hey Google, what's today's date?
It's Saturday, July 27th, 2024.
So it's Saturday, July 27th, 2024. And if you look there, hey Google, what time is it Central Time?
It's 4:47 a.m. in Central Time.
It's 4:47 Central Time. So here we are. I woke up. My energy's in a frenzy. I'm live on Twitch, and I'm talking to you just to clear it out a little bit. And we'll go from there. If you want to come see me on Twitch to hear what I have to say, please join me. Cryptics. I just tried to make another video. That's why I posted those videos on TikTok, because you can't be like, oh, America was great at any point. Does that look like a great place to be? Why did those people think it's not a great place? All of them agreed. All of the people who did those things agreed that America is not a great place. It's a lot of people agreeing that America is not a great place. Why don't they think it's a great place? Maybe because it's not. Could be something to that. Why did they all agree? There aren't that many crazy people. In fact, most of you agree it's not a great place. Most of you cry and complain about your situations, your living conditions, the people that you're forced to endure, the people that you become. Hey, most of you cry about it all the time. I'm not going to post another TikTok. That's enough. Just the one is fine. But my point is, you can't claim that it's an amazing place or a great place, and you can't claim that it ever was. Trump is just a liar. But you know that. He's also a cheat, a swindler, and he's also, I'm pretty sure, a rapist. In fact, I know he's a systemic rapist. He abused the system. Those women wouldn't have looked at him twice if not for his money, and money shouldn't have the amount of influence over people's lives as it does, but it does because of capitalism, because of the way that things are structured, because people want a cush, comfortable, simple, easy life, and they want nice stuff, and they want nice places, which should be provided for everyone, mind you, especially if we have it available, which we guaranteed have it available. We're not in a resource crunch. We're not at a limit for those resources. Those buildings are huge. You could house hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, in them, or at least allow them to be a part of the situation. Those resorts and hotels that he's built, how many people could live in there comfortably, regularly? Right, they all could. But capitalism doesn't allow for that. Because capitalism doesn't care about the people. It cares about the profit. It cares about who's making the most. It cares about who's winning the most. But you shouldn't need other people to lose for you to win. That being said, that's what the win is. The win is in comparison. It's not an actual win. It's saying, oh, my situation is better than yours because we've decided that my situation should be better. It looks nicer, it feels nicer, it is nicer in that sense. But how many people don't appreciate the common people behind it? How many people don't think that the average life is worthy enough behind it? That's what we've made. We made it so that people do not accept normal as acceptable. People do not appreciate normal as acceptable. They're like, no, it has to be amazing. If it's not amazing, it's not worth it. And then they destroy themselves behind trying to achieve amazing. They choose the wrong partners, they choose the wrong friends, they choose the wrong jobs, they choose all the wrong things. Destroy themselves in the process in order to acquire a life that isn't even worth it in most senses. Like what? So you can look at prettier stuff? Like, and I get that. Like, I like prettier women, but I don't really need prettier places. I don't care about the place. I don't care about the thing. I don't care about any. I think that the backdrop is irrelevant to me. And to be fair, I don't really care about most people, like, looks-wise either, as a general rule. Except for where my partner is concerned. Like, I need to be sexually attractive to her. And attracted to her. I don't know why I said attractive, but I need to be sexually attractive to her and attracted to her. That goes without saying. But that's the exception. That's the only time that looks ever matter to me. That's the only time that looks ever matter to me. I've been friends with all types of people, all different shapes and sizes, all different creeds, religions, races, all different levels of weight, obesity, and slimness, all different sizes. I've been friends with so many different people from so many different walks of life. It's because it's not an important feature in who a person is as their character is. It's not an important feature. Your external appearance is only important for sex. That's it. That's the only way your outside appearance is important. Other than hygiene, you should be clean. But I'm even friends with people who aren't. I told you, I regularly kept company with gentlemen who smelled straight of cat piss their whole life. This house smells like cat piss, and I'm still here. It's whatever. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to die behind it. I'm clean. I stay clean. I'm always clean. I'm not super clean right now. I'm a little dirty, but I'm going to take a shower. Maybe I'll even take a shower now. It's 5 a.m. Why not? He's probably asleep. He won't care. So maybe I'll go take a shower right now, and then I'll be just as clean as the rest of you. I just don't have clean living conditions, or cleanish. I'm super clean. And they're clean enough. If you notice, I clean them. I'm constantly washing my hands. I'm constantly washing my face. I'm constantly washing my body. I do bird baths and everything regularly. I'm always clean. It's just that I don't have the fortune that a lot of you do to have been gifted parents who had good heads on their shoulders and could make good lives for me. So yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't have the benefits that a lot of you did. I don't have the fame or the fortune. I'm just an average Joe schmo, right? Isn't that what you call him? Right. It is. I know it is. Don't act like you don't. I'm just a normal person. I am a fellow American. Some of you are a little worse off than me. Some of you are a little better off, but I am your average American. I am your average American. Guaranteed. In fact, I'm all of the Americans except for the politician. I've been every one. I've been the poverty-stricken. Not Section 8, but we were on welfare. Relying on the system. I've been the prisoner. I did 12 years in prison. I've been the middle-class worker. The blue-collar. I worked for Walmart as a retail worker, and I worked for AT&T as a sales worker, a sales consultant. I worked for Driveline as a retail reset person. So I would go to retail stores throughout the district that I lived in and I would reset their features and fixtures. I dug ditches, and I laid gravel with wheelbarrows and shovels. I have also been a white collar worker. I was an assistant manager, I was a department manager, and I was a store manager, even. I was a department manager for grocery in Walmart. I was an assistant manager for Prime Communications, AT&T. And then I was a store manager for Prime Communications, AT&T. I am all of the American. I'm all of them. I'm every single one. I'm college educated. I have an associate's degree in liberal arts, and I have the credits necessary for a bachelor's degree in the liberal arts. I went to the 74th, something like that, most prestigious school in the world, or at least in the country, I believe, Bard College. I did it through prison, BPI, Bard Prison Initiative, but some of them are the same professors that those regular students were learning from. I told you, I even learned from the vice president of the school, up to and including the vice president of the school itself. I'm all of the Americans. I am your fellow American. I am the average American. And this is how you treat them. This is what you do to them. This is the world that you've created. The only thing I haven't been is hyper wealthy. I've never made six figures, though I was close. I was like 60 or 70,000. I was up there. I was getting up there anyway. As a store manager, I would have made around like 70 grand a year if I was able to pull quota every single month comfortably. Yeah, but in order to do that with that job, because of the way that the system is structured, I was going to have to rip off my customers because the location wasn't ideal for making that type of money because the customer base didn't have the money to be able to purchase the things they would have needed to maintain the level of features and functions and the top quality phones necessary for me to meet my quota because the area is not a well-to-do area. Unfortunately, most of them are even worse off than I was. They couldn't afford to buy those phones. They couldn't afford those services. They couldn't afford those goods. If they could have, I would have had no issues. All I would have had to do is tell them, hey, look, here's the thing that you can do. And they would have jumped on it because they would have had the money. Why wouldn't they? But they didn't have the money. They don't have the money. Because the average American is actually worse off than I am. I know that because I worked with them at lengths as an assistant manager and as a store manager, as a sales consultant, an assistant manager, and a store manager. Most of them would come in an uproar because they couldn't afford a new phone when they needed it the most. Their phone was broken or whatever, so the majority of the time what I would do is I would troubleshoot their devices to try to help them fix them. But they couldn't afford new devices, let alone a whole new lineup and insurance and everything else that they wanted me to swindle them into purchasing. DirecTV, these people can't afford cable. And you want them to pay for DirecTV? These people can't afford Wi-Fi. they can barely afford their phone bills, which they need to survive. And you expect them to be able to afford all of the other things? You want them to be homeless. You want them to be helpless. They can't compete. They don't have the capacity for it. That's your fellow American. I was better off. I was better situated than the average American. Guaranteed, because I worked with the average American. Both in Walmart and in AT&T, and in Driveline, and even when I was working DoorDash. I got customer base from all over. I was in the hood, and I was in well-to-do neighborhoods when I was doing my deliveries. I delivered to both the hood and to well-to-do neighborhoods. Guaranteed I did. I've delivered to both the hood, and I've delivered to well-to-do neighborhoods. The hood doesn't tip quite so well. They don't really have the means to, which is fine. I get it. You still need to eat, and the trips usually aren't as lucrative either, for whatever reason. It's fine. It's not that serious. But to be fair, right? I am your fellow American. I am the average American, and I've been all of the Americans, all of them, from the lower class to the maybe a middle class. I don't know. I'd have to look up what upper middle class is. I don't think I've made it to upper middle class. But all the way up to at least middle class. That's me. I'm that guy. And I do it well. I'm good at what I do. I know what I know. I'm confident. I'm competent. I'm capable. I'm a leader by nature. I don't want to be a leader. I can't stand y'all and don't like what you're building, but I'm a leader by nature. And it's not even that I'm a leader. It's just that I set a good example. I'm a good person. I do the right things. And that makes a leader in this world. Because a lot of you will follow my example. I lead by example. I don't lead by virtue of telling you what to do. I lead by showing you. Except for right now, but I can't function in this world. I can't deal. Y'all are corrupt. You're shady. You're duplicitous. I told you, you're really not doing so hot out there. And you know, all of you actual fellow Americans, all of you people out there who are a part of the system in the way that I was, who are at that level or lower, which is your average American, mind you, store managers are not a common thing. The majority of the Americans in this country will never make it to store manager level. That's above average. That's far above average. A lot of you never make it out of the base level positions. You stay in entry level positions the majority of your life, if not forever, if not the entirety of your life. You don't move out, you don't move up. I've watched you. You're 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and 40-year-olds still doing the same thing. Sometimes out of choice, but sometimes out of necessity. I've seen 50 and 60-year-olds still doing the same thing. Working entry-level positions because they just don't have the means to compete. They don't have the mental capacity. They don't have the physical capacity. They just do not. And that's the average American. Those are our essential workers. You know how you know that's the average American? Because in order to maintain the quantity of essential goods and services, the majority of the people have to fill those positions, silly geese. How do you provide that quantity of goods and services? By making sure you have that quantity of essential workers available to do so. Yeah, your food, your water, your shelter, even your repair services, your maintenance, your utilities. That's your average American. That's the majority of them, the essential workers, your sanitation, your delivery drivers. It has to be to keep the system working. The problem is they don't get the appreciation that they deserve. They're not treated well. They're used and they're abused. They're underappreciated and overworked. That's your fellow American. I know, I've been one. The system is foul. They incentivize not growth and progress, they incentivize presentation. They incentivize a show. Who can talk the best game? While meanwhile, in the background, do the most dirt. Who can cut the most corners, but make it look like they're doing the right thing? We're a results-oriented system and not a process-oriented system. And we should be a process-oriented system. We should care more about how things are done, not just that things are getting done. Things need to get done, but the only things that really need to get done is we need to get the food to the people. We need to get electricity and water to the people. We need to get shelter to the people. And now we need to get communication to the people, because it's crucial. You can't live in this world without communication. So Wi-Fi, internet, phone services, TV's not important. We do need to get those things to the people. They're crucial. They're essential things. Those are the essential items for modern society. They're not essential for survival. They're not essential for humans as a general rule, but they're essential for modern society. If you want to participate in modern society, all of those things are essential. Food, clothing, shelter, electricity, water, Wi-Fi. Those are essential for modern society. And everyone who provides those things are essential workers. Sanitation included, because we have to clean up after it. And y'all sure aren't cleaning up. That's where we are, though. That's what we need. Those are the essential positions. That's the majority of life. It's also the majority of our fellow Americans. Most of them are never going to make it to white collar. The majority of them are blue collar. They're going to stay blue collar. I'm a white collar American. I was management. La-di-da. Multiple times, even. I was management for different companies. And these are big companies. Maybe it was only on the store level, but guaranteed if I had stayed long enough, it would have been on the corporate level. It would have been at least at the district level until it was at the regional or until it was at the corporate level. I have the head on my shoulders necessary to probably be president of the United States. I know that I have a better head on my shoulders than Donald Trump does. I know that I have a better head on my shoulders than Joe Biden does. Guaranteed. The issue is I don't have the luxury of the support system that they do. I don't have the connections. I don't have the network. I don't have the funds. I don't have access to those things. If I did, guaranteed I could run the country better than any of them ever could. I know the country is the reason. And if you're listening to what I'm talking about, you know that I know the country because you know what I'm saying is true for you, my fellow Americans. Guaranteed. You know what I'm saying is true because you're living it right now. And I know because I've watched you live it. From every walk of life, all of them. From the poverty-stricken all the way up to white collar, middle class, maybe upper middle class. I'm not sure where upper middle class stands. I think it's more like 100K. Maybe it's not. I'll look it up. But I think it's somewhere around, so maybe it is where I was. I might have been exactly at upper middle class. And I left the job because to maintain it would be to beat down the blue collar people that I'm supposed to be here working for. It would be to use and abuse them, to manipulate them, to coerce them into being a part of something that they can't be a part of, that they don't want to be a part of. They're struggling to barely make ends meet. They're struggling just to survive. Yes, it is because they make some very unfortunate financial decisions more often than not. But they do so because they want to fit in. They want to be included. They want to keep up with the Joneses because otherwise the Joneses won't even fucking look at them. Because otherwise the Joneses not only won't look at them, the Joneses will kick dirt on them, will spit in their faces. They don't have a choice but to keep up with the Joneses. Because if they don't keep up with the Joneses, they're not valid. They're not good enough. They're not included or incorporated in a system that they want to be a part of. They have to do it. They have to make those unfortunate financial decisions just to look like they fit in. Because your system won't allow them to fit in for real. My fellow Americans. Hey Google, what's my current location?
Your current location is 55 William Street, Catskill, New York.
Well, that's definitely not true. Hey Google, use location to determine my current location.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Hey Google, what's your location accuracy?
Your current location is 55 William Street, Catskill, New York.
How do I set location? That's where I used to live. That's probably when I set up the Google Home and I didn't realize that. So I guess Google can't tell you where I live, but you know what can? This phone can. Let's do this. My current location. There you go. You see that? My current location. Hoffman Estates, Illinois, 60169. I am dead smack in the center of the country. I am. This is where I live. This is where I am. This is what I am doing. My fellow Americans. This is what an actual fellow American looks like. They're not wearing fancy suits. Sometimes when they go to job interviews or funerals, or when they go out to really nice events. But they can't afford a ton of suits. Suits cost hundreds of dollars. These people need those hundreds of dollars just to pay their rent or to eat food. They can't afford fancy suits. They're not going on fancy vacations, maybe once a year. They only get 2 weeks of vacation time anyway. Half the time they can't even use it because they don't have the funds or resources available to be able to use it. A lot of them are in Section 8. A lot of them are on welfare. especially the elderly. It's wild to me how the elderly are treated. And these are the people that worked for the system to be what it is right now. They're 50, 60, 70 years old, starving to death. They can't afford, they worked for you for their whole lives, and they can't afford to stay in a place that they earned with their blood, sweat, and tears. They can't afford to eat regular meals. How's that a thing? And I'm not saying that's all of them. I know a lot of them might have, like I said, made very terrible decisions in their lives, but you gotta question why. Because for them, they didn't think of them as terrible. They thought of them as the right moves. Why did they think of them as the right move? Because they wanted to be involved. They wanted to be included. They wanted to fit in. And they couldn't because they didn't have the capacity to make it happen on their own. You used them. You abused them. And then you kicked them to the curb when they were no longer able to continue to be used or abused. Because now they're too old for that. So you just disregard them as human beings, as lives, and then you just kick them aside. You're like, who cares? Let's use the next generation. Let's abuse the next generation. That's what you do. That's how you move in this country. What I don't understand is why and how you think it's going to continue to create something that's foundationally secure. But you know that it's not. All of those videos I showed you are evidence that it's not. Those are the people that you're using and abusing. And that's what they do. The revolution will be televised. Donald Trump just got shot at, allegedly. I don't know how much I care if this situation happened or not. If he had died, I'd have cared. He didn't die, I really don't care. Run whatever game or story you want. Maybe they paid that dude as a hired actor so that Trump would have a little more clout with the common folk. Look, they're trying to shoot at him. He must be doing something. No, he's not. Right, let's not play that game. I don't really care why they shot at him. If he had died, I might have cared. I don't care otherwise. Right? But that's what's happening. Suppose, for instance, it was a real thing. Why was that person that disgruntled? You know why. He said why. They said why. Because he was bullied. He was treated poorly by his fellow Americans. Why were his fellow Americans treating him poorly? Because they were conditioned, have been conditioned, and will continue to be conditioned that these status indications are more important than the human life that the status condition is composed of. Meaning that they think that money and success are more important than the person, but money and success only exist in relation to the person. Money doesn't exist without people. Money is social validation. Where do you get the money from? By selling things to the people. The money doesn't come from anywhere but the people. You sell the things to the people. Money is the people. Money is from the people, for the people, and by the people. Money is people's time and energy. That's what money is. It's an objectified version of people's time and energy. That's all it is. Money is just people's time and energy. That's what money is. Money is equivalent to people's time and energy. And that's why I say that a lot of these well-to-do people are thieves. They're crooks. Because you know as well as I do that they did not contribute that level of time and energy to the world. That time and energy belongs in the hands of the people who put it in, who put in that work, who put in that time and that energy. And yet some of them, somehow, these well-to-do people are hoarding the fellow Americans, our fellow Americans, my fellow American, your fellow Americans, time and energy. When you hear about a person who has $1 billion, I want you to think about what that means. $1 billion is $1 billion worth of people's time and energy. That's what money is. It's people's time and energy. That's why you get paid for your time and for your energy. Because it is people's time and energy. Do you honestly believe that that billionaire put in $1 billion worth of people's time and energy? No, they did not. No, they did not. So how is it that they're sitting on $1 billion? Because they lied to you, they cheated you, they ripped you off. They used you and they abused you. That's how. Because they lied to you. And convinced you that what they had was worth more than it actually was. They convinced you that what they were offering was worth more than it actually is. Guaranteed. That's why you're making a pittance while they're making a fortune. That's why you're, what's the word I'm looking for? Scuffling? Not the right word. Scrimping? I can't remember what the word is. But that's why you're struggling to make ends meet, struggling to eat. And they're living lush, lavish lives. Because they lied to you. Because they convinced you that what they had to offer was more important than what you had to offer. And that's not the case. It can't be the case. The show doesn't exist without the foundation. The show doesn't exist without the work and effort that goes into not only creating but also maintaining it, maintaining the system. The system doesn't exist without the essential worker. Your show doesn't exist without water. Your show doesn't exist without electricity. Your show doesn't exist without shelter. Your show doesn't exist without delivery drivers. Your show doesn't exist without sanitation workers. Your show doesn't exist. Your show dies. And if you notice, you know that. Your movies and your television shows and your music all talks about it. Even the content itself doesn't exist without the regular life. Yeah, most of them are rhyming or singing or acting about higher level positions, higher level jobs. Not always, though. Sometimes they're about real life, regular life. But even they depend on, even their content depends on the average existence. That's why a lot of these movies are about average situations. More often than not, they're the extreme end, but if you know, that's unrealistic expectations. That's not a real world. That's not real life. There's nobody who's driving like the Fast and the Furious in real life regularly. You wouldn't get away with it for too long. Not unless you paid off the local law enforcement, which you could do. You could definitely pay off the local law enforcement. They're people too. They need money. But you're not driving the way that they're driving. If you ever pay attention, they're definitely dramatizing the endeavors themselves to make them look better, to make them seem more exciting. But nobody's really doing that. Nobody's really about that life. Not at that level. Yes, some people are about that life, but not at that level. All these gangsters and like hood situations, they're not at that level either. They can't be. Who the fuck are they killing? Who are they shooting at? Each other? They're our fellow Americans? They're shooting at the common folk? Because there aren't that many tough people in this country, I promise you. And even if there are that many tough people, are they all crooks? Are they all problems? I doubt it. So who are they shooting at? Who are they robbing and stealing from? Hopefully the rich to give to the poor. Robin Hood status. That I can get on board with. But you know who they're usually stealing from? You and me. But y'all want to watch it in the movies. You think it's amazing. Make that make sense. They're stealing from you and me. They're killing you and me. Tell me, why are we so blind to see that the ones we hurt are you and me? Been spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. Do you understand? And they've been telling you your whole lives. Through the movies, through television shows, through the fucking songs that you listen to, but you refuse to hear it. You refuse to see it. Instead, you feed the disease. Instead, you give your money to these people who don't deserve it. Instead of keeping the money where it belongs, with the people. We had a discussion and he's halfway there. He's like, I think that the ranchers and farmers deserve the majority of the money. I'm like, no. Yes, they do deserve as much as the rest. But the money that they deserve should also be distributed amongst the delivery drivers who get the food from the farms to the markets. You wouldn't get your food without it being in the market. You're not driving to a fucking farm every single time you need food. It's just not convenient enough. It's not logistically sound. The farmers aren't cleaning up the garbage after you got done using the stuff that you're using. The farmers don't contribute to your shelters. They don't build your homes. The farmers don't help to maintain the water that you need just to survive. The plumbing in your home. Or the electricity and the communications necessary for you to exist in modern society. So while he's halfway there, or like a quarter or an eighth of the way there, there's a lot more that goes into the system than just the farmers and the ranchers. Yes, they do grow our food. That is awesome, and I'm super appreciative of that. But they didn't build the great technology that they have available now to do it as well as they can do it. We need those scientists, those technicians, those mechanics. Because we need those vehicles, we need those machines, we need those electronics that allow us to exist in modern day society in the way that we do, if we want these conveniences to continue or to improve in the future. My fellow Americans, but y'all don't want to hear me though. Y'all just want to dance. Andre 3000. Hey y'all. Outcast. Great fucking song. Oh, you think you got it. Oh, you think you got it. But God, it just don't get it when it's nothing at all. Papa Roach. Beyond Angels and Insects. There's no money. There's no possessions. Only obsession. I don't need that shit. Non-point. Bullet with a name on it. The way I work so hard for things, they just take away from me. I got a bullet with a name on it. Bullet with a name. But y'all don't want to hear me though. Y'all just want to dance. And you want the show more than you want the existence, which makes sense. If you listen to the show, they did too. They didn't want the existence. That's why they put on the show. Because they recognize that you don't appreciate the work and effort that goes into the very system that you're a part of, that you want to see in the extremes. You don't want to see what goes into it. You don't want to see the burden, the strife, the struggle that actually keeps this system afloat. And you know why it's a struggle? Why it's strife? Because you don't appreciate it. If we took the money that we put into the celebrity, the politician, the corporate world, and instead allocated it to the common person, to the people, do you know how much better a society we would have? And I know what the argument is. Oh, well, we are incentivizing the growth, but you're not. They can't grow. They don't have the means to. Your growth implies that they have the education, the paperwork necessary for them to be able to do the things in those positions. I can't be in a research and development team without having the adequate level of education and or paperwork from the proper institution, even more often than not. If it's not an Ivy League school or if it's not a well-to-do school, more often than not, you might not even care. You won't even look at my resume. So you're not incentivizing growth. You're not incentivizing progress. You're incentivizing money for money's sake. And if you notice, it's true even of reality TV stars. You pay money to people who have money already because you want to see the life, because you want to believe that you actually have access to that life, but you don't. Because you're constantly giving them the money. If we gave the money to us instead, if we redistributed the funds, the finances to the people who actually are putting in the effort and time that the money is symbolic of, guess what? We would all win. We would all be eating. And like I said, you're not incentivizing growth or progress. You're not incentivizing competition because a lot of our average Americans, our fellow Americans, can't compete. They don't have the mental capacity. They don't have the physical capacity. Yeah, call it laziness. I call it a lack of motivation, one. And then two, some people just aren't made that way. They don't have the physical or mental makeup to be able to engage in that sense. They can't compete. They're not born with the gifts necessary to be able to do so. That might sound defeatist, and I know some people find workarounds, but more often than not, they can't. That's why our fellow Americans are all struggling and striving. That's why we have Section 8. That's why we have welfare. Because a lot of people just can't do it. They just can't manage. I'm just waiting for you guys to get it in your heads and figure it out, to get on board, to actually make a system that's worth being a part of, instead of one that's worth slaughtering, or setting on fire, or blowing up, exploding. That's why we have all those domestic terrorist attacks. That's why those people across seas are dancing on burning American flags. Because they recognize it for the problem that it is too. Because what we do to ourselves here in this country, we do to them even worse. America's a bully. And you know what we do to bullies. And that's what the rest of the world is trying to do now. America just happens to have better firepower more often than not, so they're the bigger bully. And it's hard to fight back against a bigger bully. But not impossible. Never impossible. All you'll ever be is a faded memory of a bully. Yeah. That person who was assaulted by the state troopers, you know what they told me? I don't want to be another dead black man in America. So I guess they identify as a man. That gentleman who was assaulted, when I posted the police videos, and I even posted the video for a day or two, just hopefully for the right person to see it. I did take the video down because it's not my place to post it. I gave him a copy of the video, so he has that now. You know what he told me? I don't want to be another dead black person in America. I don't want to be another dead black man in America. He's right. He was super grateful that I recorded what I recorded. The other lady who recorded, unfortunately, she didn't have sound. Mine had sound. So hopefully that's helpful in whatever pursuit that this person needs to take in order to be able to make sure that justice is served. That's what he told me. He said, I don't want to be another dead black man in America. And he's right. That's what this country does. That's what this country is about. It's a bully. One of the biggest bullies. So much of a bully that it trickles down to the fellow Americans and their families, their friends, and more importantly, their children. Which is why you notice schools, oftentimes they're where the aggression, the ire is focused. Because it's a trickle-down bully effect. The politicians bully the corporate folk. The corporate folk bully the politicians, back and forth. Then the corporate bully the white collar, and the white collar bully the blue collar, and the blue collar bully their family and friends, and their family and friends bully their children. Because they don't have any other relief. They don't have any other avenue for getting rid of that aggression, that hurt, that upset that comes from the top down. And where do the children take it? To the rest of the children in their schools, in their friend groups, in their little cliques. And that's why oftentimes it's the schools that bear the brunt of the aggression. Because the kids know they don't deserve it. They don't understand why they're being hurt, why they're being attacked. They just know that it's unjust. And kids don't have the wherewithal to regulate their emotion the way that adults often do. They don't have the experience necessary to be able to take their emotion and use it productively. They just know that they're being hurt and they want to protect themselves. They want to defend themselves. So they go ahead and they grab a few guns and they shoot up a school. Because they're like, why are you attacking me? Why are you hurting me? I know. I'm the perfect example. I didn't have money. I didn't come from wealth. I was broke. I told you, I lived in a house with cracks running through the walls where you could feel the breeze coming into the house. Windows broken out around it. I was picked on and I was bullied a lot as a kid. I was fortunate enough that my mother was a sweetheart. She was an amazing woman who was loving and kind and compassionate. And if not for that, I probably would have killed myself as a kid. There were a number of times when I felt like I wanted to. There were a number of times as a child that I was suicidal. Behind the way that you treated me. And the worst part is, it asked about me as a student. I was just a good kid. I was a church-going, law-abiding citizen. I started as your fellow American. I did all the right things. I was a smart person. I was a good student. Straight A. Above average. Outstanding. And you abused me behind it. To the point that I just got fed up and decided that I'm not going to take your abuse anymore. And I had to stand up and fight back. Not out of choice, out of necessity. So that you wouldn't continue to abuse me. I was defending myself. I've never been the aggressor. I guess when I'm assaulting you after you did what you did to me, I am. Because I'm the aggressive party. But I was defending myself. I've been defending myself from your country. From what your country has made. Meaning that that's the reason we know you're upset. Yeah, well, then what are you doing about it? Are you helping? Are you going to contribute to? No? Then why are you even talking to me anymore? If you're not going to be a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. Get on board and be a part of the solution. Or stay out of the conversation entirely. If you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. That's how come we're upset. Yeah, I know why you're all upset. Because you don't want to accept that there's a problem in the first place. Because you want to pretend like America's this great place. Because you want to go on your fancy vacations and dress in your fancy clothes and act like you're bougie and highfalutin in a world full of deplorable, detestable upperclassmen and defeated, broken down, deprecated, and demeaned essential workers, essential people. You want to pretend to be fancy in a world full of abused and used victims. If you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. Please, get on board. Become a part of the solution. Help us to change this. Help us to make something that's actually worth living in. Help us to make America great the first time. My fellow Americans. And I don't got a teleprompter. I don't have a script. I don't have professional orators or professional speech writers. This is me just talking from my experience. Talking about my life and what I've gone through and what I have seen, what I have witnessed in this country. From all the different walks of life that I have been a part of. All the way from being that broke, poor, welfare provided for child up to being a store manager for Prime Communications and AT&T, one of the largest telecommunications companies in the world. Please become a part of the solution. Stop being a part of the problem. Please and thank you.